Hafadain, welcome back to Estoria Ta. For hundreds of years, Guam's seafaring traditions had gone unpracticed. But through organizations like TASA, they're working to pass on those traditions to future generations. And like TASA, a group of Chamorros in California charted their own course to preservation. To get there, they built a sakman. It was the arrival of Hawaii's famous hokulea to San Diego that was the impetus behind Mario Borja building a sakman. He recalls the day the Chamorro community in San Diego built a small galaidi to greet the hokulea as it sailed into the bay.
When we saw the hokulea, we were stunned by its size and embarrassed by our galaidi. It's only a 12-footer. But you know what? It raised a question. It inspired a few of us to question why there were no large canoes in Guam. Well, when we started questioning that, a gentleman, the late Carlos Pangilinan Taitano, my granduncle, came, gave me information on it, inundated our few Chamorros in San Diego with information on our history. First, our history. We found out that our Chamorros of old built 6 models of canoes ranging in size and purpose. The smallest was the galaidi. The largest was the sakman. We didn't even know how to spell sakman. Well, that didn't take too long because with all the information that Carlos Taitano gave us, we soon learned. And with the scaling data that we found from a drawing that was a picture of a picture of a picture of the drawing, we were still able to enlarge that small drawing and pull out the data that we needed. And here it is.
Embarrassed but fueled by passion, Borja used the information he received from his uncle Carlos and the centuries-old drawings from Sir George Anson to make history come alive.
My father always said, Mario, and I'll say it in Chamorro, Zangin paraun na kalamtin hafa malago mo, na guahay kabesa mo, na guahay kanay mo, dan kontinua ni corazon mo. If you want to do any project, make sure you have it in your head and be your capability of your hands, and to sustain that drive, be your passion of heart. And well, you know what? I said, hey, I got all 3, maybe. We had to just learn. We learned. You know what we did? We built small models. The galaidi is one thing. Building the galaidi was instructive, but not with respect to the sakman. So we built small models. We started out with models like this, just to get an idea of what it would look like. And then we started with another 12-inch model, and then 2-footer, 3-footer, 4-footer, 5-footer, 6-footer we went to. We skipped 7, we went to 8, and then voila, we were ready. We did models so that we could learn the tooling, the mathematics, the craftsmanship, but to build our confidence. And we finally got the 8-foot model built. We took the big jump to build the big one. So it was a staging of building the cabeza. First, we learned what it is. We couldn't just jump into it. Building small models, and then building the confidence, and then jumping on the large canoe. So it was a process.
It was a process that started with pure redwood from the Mendocino National Sequoia Forest in California. Months of meticulous measurements, intricate models, and over a year of hard work. It was in 2011 the sakman was finally completed. 120 miles away, Tony Maguatuk was aware the sakman was under construction and finally dived in to help.
The next time I saw the canoe, well, the first time I saw the canoe as almost completed, was at FESPAC. The Pacific Island Festival in San Diego. And when I touched it, I mean, this serious, all seriousness, when I walked up and touched it, as soon as I touched it, it's like somebody just grabbed me and say, "You have to get involved." Seriously. As soon as that happened, I told my family, I said, "Look, I'm going to be away from home most of the time. I'm going to be running down to San Diego." So since then, I go to San Diego. I leave my house on Monday. Don't come back till Friday. Or sometimes don't even come back for the week. And I do that just about every week. Every week I did that.
Tony, who was a well-known Chamorro rights activist in California, gave it all up to focus on the sakman full-time. He would make the 120-mile commute every week from his home in Long Beach to San Diego on his motorcycle.
I don't do protests. I do education. I call it education. I go to Washington, D.C., or I go to Sacramento, legislative visits, tell them, introduce ourselves as Chamorros, not as Pacific Islanders, but specifically Chamorros from the Guam and the Marianas. Because, for a small world as it is, they still don't know who we are. We are lumped in to a group called Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders, okay? I wanted that changed. I wanted them to recognize that there are Chamorros here. That was my passion, until one day I was introduced to a log by Mario Bora, our captain.
Like everyone else, all he knew about was the Galidi.
I didn't know that we had one with sail. I mean, I've seen the Carolinians, but I just assumed that, we didn't have any because we were never taught that we did.
And Tony wasn't about to let history repeat itself, so he invited his son on one of his trips to San Diego. Mike Maguadug said he knew immediately he had to be a part of the project.
At the time, I was working, extremely busy with work, so I didn't have the time to come down all the time. It's 120 miles, it's not a short distance. It's not like from driving here down to Melissa, about a year later, I had more free time. I had just quit the job I was at, and my dad said, "Well, why don't you come down and just help us out?" So I came down, started working on the canoe in the shop, in the yard where it was built, which is actually Uncle Robert Goldcamp, Mario Borja's brother-in-law. It's his front yard, and he so generously donated his front yard for us to use as a shop for the canoe. And I got my hands dirty, At that point, I didn't know anything about sailing. I didn't know anything about sakman. I didn't know anything about canoes. So all I had was my back and my hands. And so that's what I offered at the beginning. And very, very quickly learned a lot of skills that we use for repairing and maintaining the sakman. And of course, once we were done with our repairs, I got to learn how to lash the sakman. Because as you can see, everything is tied together. There's no bolts, no screws, no nuts. Everything that is an original part of the sakman is lashed together like it would have been before. So I also learned knot tying skills. I just had to make sure everything would be secure, and got to have a lot of experiences sailing it. And I tell you, it's so invigorating when the sail is up and we're getting pushed or pulled by the wind, depending on our direction, because you can feel it. You can feel our ancestors right there by you, and especially I feel my grandfather, Jesus Maguadug. I feel him with us at all times. In fact, most of us who have worked on the canoe or had a really hands-on part of it have our names on the canoe somewhere. I happen to have my name on a handhold here on what's known as the Hafen Felina, or the brace for the mast. And I decided it would be very important for me to put my grandfather's name on there too, because if it wasn't for him, my family would be gone. The Maguadug line would be gone. And so I feel like he's always with us, and he's always showing us the right way. He's always showing me what to do. I feel so fortunate to be a part of this project because seafaring on Guam and for Chamorro people is really still in the infancy of being rebirthed or being being reinvigorated. We didn't know for hundreds of years what we did. The Spanish obliterated our seafarers. And so we're still learning. We're all still learning, you know, independently of each other and collaborating with the Tasi and Tasa and all of our Tatasi groups, you know, here on the island. We're all learning together what our ancestors knew and what they mastered. So, you know, I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of this.
Not only do they feel deeply connected to the Sakman project, but also extremely proud to be a part of the Festival of the Pacific Arts. That part of the story when Estoria Ta continues after the commercial break.